There we go. Hello, everyone. Okay, let me spotlight here. Hello. Good morning, good good afternoon, good evening, depending where you're tuning in from. Brian just brought me a chocolate croissant. I I was about to sit down when I realized that I had found a caterpillar. Um oh, it's warm. So I was like, let me take a couple bites. Um so when I was doing the we had a couple weeks ago Brian and I went to a local farm that gave us a bunch of herbs that we processed, and it was a whole, whew, that was a lot of work. Um, but because it is an organic farm, uh, what ended up happening was, of course, there were some critters. So we found different types of spiders, and then there was a caterpillar that turned up, and I didn't know what to do with it, so I didn't know what it was, so I put it into one of my little terrarium boxes, just to kind of figure it out. And it wasn't even like it was, yeah, it was the next day, and I started seeing that it was already making a cocoon. So I said, okay, I'll leave it be. I'll just leave it be, and I'll see what it turns into. So I've been checking, and just now, as I was going to heading over to sit here at my desk, I just kind of gave it a look out of habit, and sure enough, there is a moth in there. I don't know what it is, so I'm gonna end up taking some close-ups and posting them because it does have a very odd shape to it. And it's like a dark charcoal with some like black banding. And then it has these like white or silver kind of, it has like a mark on the side that honestly looks like an octopus. It's like a circle with squigglies coming out of it, and it's on both sides. So I thought, oh, is that just like a weird mark? And I looked on the other side, same thing. And it looks like it has I don't know, like it's so weird. I don't think it's gonna. Oh, here we go. You can see the mark. That's just a leaf, uh, a dried up leaf. There we go. Look at that. It's really weird looking. That is odd, and that's the pupa. So that's what's left behind. So I had made this really cool cocoon in which it was completely translucent. It was pretty neat to see that. And now it's this really weird moth. I don't know what it is. If this looks familiar to anyone, please let me know. Um, I'm going to double check what it is before I leave it, to go into the environment, because if it's something that's not native or something like that, then I will, supply it with some sugar water or anything to help it live a comfortable life, but then I wouldn't let it go if it is invasive. Um, so yeah, so I'll post that up today to find out what in the world that is. But it is very interesting. Um, I didn't really have any expectations. I was going into this with complete curiosity. Uh, so yeah, I'm so happy about that. That it actually was able to transform comfortably. Um, yeah, I didn't have I was like, I wasn't gonna kill it or anything. So I said, let me just put it in one of my terrarium boxes and see what happens. And there you go. So that was an odd one. Um, so I am so tired. I'm gonna be fully transparent. We had Comic-Con this weekend. Um, and then last night I was trying to catch up with some work. So I had done a bunch of work at the beginning of the week so that I could take Friday off. But then I just felt like I still I was like, oh no, I still had so many things that left on Friday. Um, so I was trying to catch up last night, and so I had a pretty bad night. Um, but I did have had a lot of fun at Comic Con. My legs are in so much pain. For those of you who don't know what Comic Con It's basically, well, it's a 4 day. We only did the 3 days though. A 4 day expo essentially, and it's a convention, and it's all things comic, anime, all fandoms are represented, and you can go dressed up, and there's booths, there's sellers, there's panels, there's chances for getting autographs. Oh my God, there were so many people there. Folks that even from childhood, Dante Bosco was there, who does the voice of Prince Zuko. He was in what's his character? He's in Hook, the one with Robin Williams. Oh my gosh, I completely forgot his character's name. Rufio? Maybe it's Rufio. There were the guys from the movie The Warriors. That I think that movie's from like the 80s. It's one of my mom's favorite movies. There were some of the actors there. Um, Jim Cummings, the voice of Winnie the Pooh, was there. Uh, Gosh, and I was really excited because Brian actually surprised me with so I'm a big fan of Lore Olympus, which is a webtoon. It's like a comic that is on this platform called Webtoons, and I read it every week. Um, and the author of the comic, the illustrator and author, was there doing book signings. And without I Brian has been buying me the volumes, so like when it's like a compilation of a bunch of the comics in book form, and so he's been, as they come out, he's been buying them for me, so I have the whole collection. And without me even realizing, he had slipped them into his book bag, and so when we were literally like walking in, and I was looking at the schedule, and I said, "Oh my God, Rachel Smythe is here." And he goes, "Damn, you like figured it out before I had a chance to surprise you." And then lo and behold, he had bought me a ticket to go to her signing, and then he showed me that he had all the books. So it was pretty awesome. And then when we were getting it signed, that's how you get the next book. So it wasn't available for sale. You had to go to the signing. So it came with the new book. So pretty wonderful. Hey, Maple. Maple just jumped up here. Um, so that was fun. And then I there was this really great booth, the Glam Gardener, and it's a New York based um, gardener who does a lot of like educational stuff, herbal stuff, and I was really excited because I was like, oh my gosh, I never see planty stuff really. I mean, of course, there's like plant characters or things like that, but I mean, in terms of like herbs or things like that, I don't see that at Comic Con. Oh, hello, thank you, buddy, thank you, buddy. Um, and so I ended up getting a really funny, so it's there's no minors here, but I thought this was hilarious. I love blank and wild native pollinators. I thought it was just too funny, so I had to get the sticker. And then let me show you my shirt. Maple's up here. Hold on. Hey, go, buddy. Um, and then it says I play with deadly plants, and then it's a picture of Datura. So Datura, I believe, anoxia, um, and it's related to Jimson weed. So if you're, I think Jimson weed is Datura strontium, something like that. It's Datura, and also called like thorn apple. And then it says, don't f with me. So I play with deadly plants. Don't f with me. Thought it was really funny. So I had to grab it. Whenever I see some fun plant shirts, I have to have them. And then that sticker was just too funny. It was available as a t-shirt too, but I was like, okay, I gotta I'll stay with one with one shirt. So I wanted to show you that because it was pretty entertaining. I have a lot of these like planty shirts that have profanity on them. I just get a kick out of it. So I have like 3 or 4 shirts now like this. So yeah, so I enjoy that. But that was, yeah, that was basically the weekend. we had a lot of fun, and yeah, now it's starting to get a lot colder. So I don't know if a lot of you are starting to experience that, but here in New York City, it's definitely dipping. The heaters finally turned on. So I had been using the heaters as additional plant space. And so what are you doing, Maple? I just heard Maple doing something in there. Um, but yeah, I was using the heaters in our apartment as additional kind of tabletops for our plants. So I've been having to do some maneuvering, and just so that so that none of the plants are burning. Um, the one of my I have a big apuntia. It's a big prickly pear cactus that is needleless. It has no needles. And that's how I realized, because I looked over and I didn't hear the heat coming up. But I looked and I saw that the prickly pear had a brown spot on it, and it was actually right next to one of the we have those like the tube heaters that are kind of exposed. Um, and it was like it was there. It's on a table, right by that heater, and I saw that brown spot, and I was like, "What?" And I when I went to pull it away, I realized that the heater was hot, so I was scrambling. Um, because I was like, oh my gosh, it had turned on like once in the last like 3 weeks, and then it didn't turn on again, so I wasn't too worried. But now it's getting colder, so now it's become something that I had to worry about. So I was having to go ahead and yeah, move all the plants. Um, this is also a time where a lot of the plants that I do keep by the window during the spring and summer, I do have to pull them away from the window. Now, some of the plants that I do leave by the window year long, I do have some aloes, some agaves, some euphorbias. Um, those I do leave, but they're about like 8 or 10 inches away from the window. So they're not right up against the window. Guys, come on. Sorry, my cats are being a little rambunctious today. Um, so they're not right up against the window. But they do tolerate really well. And what I do is during the winter months, I do put like it's like a type of plastic that you put on the edges of the windows so that it doesn't let a draft come in. So I do that, and so I have to start getting ready to do that. I don't completely close the windows because I do like to have the ability to still open up the top to have air circulation. So I don't want to completely seal my windows. I know some folks do that. Oh yes, Holly, yes, the shroom, the shroom earrings. Oh, I have a funny story I'll tell you in a second about these earrings. Um, but yeah, so I do like to, I don't completely seal them. So now it's gonna be this upcoming week is kind of playing around. So with moving some of the plants, kind of identifying, because there are a few new ones that I had put by the window. So I have like one that's a kalanchoe, that I think it's called it's like a red dragon kalanchoe, something like that. Um, so that one is new that I got within the last 6 months. So and I had put it near my window, so I don't know how it's going to do during the winter. So I think just to be safe, I'm going to move it away. Uh, and just to be safe. The others have that I have specifically like by my living room window, for instance, they have been by the window for several winters, and they're totally fine. They're happy. They continue growing, no issues. So it's just that one plant that I got that I put up by the window, that I'm really gonna have to kind of look at and see what I'm gonna do. Um, but yeah, so it's maneuvering and maneuvering. Oh, and Diane, yes, thank you. Oh my gosh, I completely forgot about that. I'm here talking about like Comic Con, and I got like thrown off with the moth. But yes, Saturday. Saturday, thank you so much. Saturday, Brian and I celebrated 8 years of marriage. And on it's gonna be January 24th, will be 12 years together. So we're a few months away from 12 years together. But then this last Saturday we celebrated eight years together. So thank you so much. I know some folks because I posted it on Facebook. Thank you. Um, yeah, and in terms of the mushroom earrings, just a funny quick story. I recently went, I've been going a lot to the New York Botanical Garden because I'm in their cultivator program. So I've been doing a lot of filming there. And I had a friend of mine that was actually visiting uh, from California. And I said, hey, let's take it as an excuse to do something planty. And so Brian and I were showing her uh, one of like the conservatories, and it was so funny because we were taking a rest stop at one of the fountains that they have that is covered, like above it is all passion flower vine, really beautiful spot. And we're sitting there talking, and there were some lilies, but they're like micro lilies. uh they had these really teeny tiny flowers, and I was trying to get a good picture, so I was kind of over the fountain with my phone, and one of my earrings just plop right into the fountain. And I said, oh man, I really like these. I mean, I know I can order them again, but I was like, damn. And so Brian was like, do you think it's deep? And I was like, I don't know. And I was like, did you see kind of where it fell? And so he had like an approximate spot. So I pulled up my sleeves and I was like, I'm gonna try. And so I was like, well, I don't know what in the world is in here, but I'm gonna just do one try. And I put my hand in. Water was freezing, but the bottoms, it was like only this thick, this deep, I mean. So it wasn't like bad or anything, and I could just feel the bottom, and I was like, oh, okay. And so I felt it, and I was able to find it and pull it out. But I was like, oh man, I really like these. So uh yeah, that I was like, oh, that would have been a bummer if I lost one of them. But I was happy I was able to to find it again. um but yeah, yeah, oh man. um that was so scared. I was so scared for that. Oh, Holly, the crime, yes, crime pays, but botany doesn't. Joey, I think is his name, is funny and profane, so don't feel bad if you're in good company with the t-shirt. Yes, yes. Oh, I love his work, like his videos. I've been following him for a couple years. I've even attended, he had like an online Zoom meetup, and then he had an online Zoom class. So I joined both of those. Um, and it's just great. It's just great. I love it. I love it. He's just so free, and yeah, he'll just drop F bombs while he's talking about scientific names. So it's a lot of fun. If you have an opportunity to join one of his Zoom sessions, it's hilarious. It's definitely really funny. I tend to keep it pretty, PG. If I'm with my friends or something like that, sure, yeah, I am not, yeah, I definitely drop a lot of F bombs, and excitedly. And so, but yeah, I try to keep it, on the up and up. Um, when I'm teaching, Suzanne, ooh, thank you so much. So there's a resource for finding a potential ID for the moth. Oh, that's great. Yes, I can. I'll try it. I'll try that. Barbara, yes, I have to move my plants off the radiators here. Question, moving indoors, Caladium coleus, usually soak to remove critters, ants. What do you remove? Think you already moved inside the cacti. Good, good, good. Yes, definitely. As soon as it starts to get, chilly enough where you think your plants might have a bit of an issue, um, yes, it's definitely advisable to start bringing them in. For bringing in Caladium and Coleus. Yeah, you can absolutely soak them to remove anything that might be in there. Um, I would absolutely recommend that. Um, you can do uh like a good rinse. There there is something like if you were to have for instance Castile soap or something that's a non-degreasing soap. So you don't want something that's gonna be strong enough that it could really harm the cuticle, so the wax cover of the leaves of the plants. So Castile soap is like a great go-to one. Um, what you could do is tilt the plant. Um, I'll use somebody as an example. Here we go. So you would tilt the plant, and you could take some of you can do like one drop of Castile soap in water in like a spray bottle. And there are a couple options. One is you could kind of hold it like this and spray towards the plant, so you're not spraying towards the dirt. I was trying to pick one that didn't have too much gravel, so I'm not like spilling it all over my desk. But so you can kind of do that, or you could just spray on your fingers and then kind of do like a little massage um, along the plant so that you're avoiding getting it inside here. And then you can turn on your faucet and give it a really good rinse. You can let it sit for about 5 minutes and then give it a really good rinse, just to see if you got anything, right. So in case there's anything hanging out in the crevices that doesn't get out in your initial soak, um, doing that can be really really helpful. Now the coleus might be able to, especially if it's like potted. Usually, if it's like pulled and transplanted, it can go into shock. But if it's already potted, they tend to do really well indoors, and they'll be fine the whole winter until you're ready to put them back out again. Um, they can have a very extended how do you call it growth season like that. In terms of the caladium, so the caladium might die back. So the caladium, it might live a little bit longer than it would outside. It will die back. Just don't throw out that it has a little corm. So just make sure, because oh man, years ago when it was like 2014, 2015, when I bought my first caladiums, and when they died back is when it got cold, I thought, oh my God, they died. I didn't know any better. Um, and so I dumped the the actual soil out um in front of our house. There's like we had some old like flower pots there, and I dumped out the excess soil, and I was like, oh, I'll just put it in here and I'll plant something. And it was like a year later in the well, not a year later, a couple months later, once it was spring, um the caladiums were coming back up. um and I didn't throw it out during the winter. I threw it out like we were about to go into spring when I threw that in there, because I had the pots just sitting in the house. I never watered them or anything, and I was like, oh, I need to get rid of all this excess soil, and I dumped them out. And it was like a perfect alignment of things. So they didn't end up overwintering outside. They overwintered here. They survived somehow, me not watering them because I didn't know any better. And then when I did finally throw them outside, thinking, oh, like spring's on its way, I can plant something in this soil. Uh, it was just the right timing where it didn't have to go through a frost, and then it just came back. It came back, with the rain and everything. I didn't do anything, and these things came back in, but came back. So it was great. But yes, so you can absolutely soak them, and you know doing something even like a shower rinse if that's possible, or if you have the sink that has kind of the kind of detachable nozzle that you could really give them a good spray. If you think you see something on there and it makes you a little nervous, I would try the Castile soap. just try your best to tilt it in a way that the Castile soap is not running into the soil. You don't want soapy soil. The Castile soap is not going to cause a lot of damage, but it can, yeah, just try to avoid try to avoid the Castile soap getting into your soil mix. But yeah,
Thank you. Yeah,
you're
that was
welcome.
the old-fashioned way. I used to water them through with palm olive in, water. Just keep watering it through. And then this time I didn't want to do the soap. I just had them soaking in water in the sink for a while and see if anything came out until I was happier that I would be bringing them into my other plants. But yeah, the caladiums last year, I left them in the ground thinking, oh, great, they'll make it. Or I hope they make it. Maybe they will, maybe they won't. The squirrels apparently thought it was like apples for them. So I never saw them again. So this time I think I have to dig them up. But thank you so much.
You're welcome.
Lovely woman. Okay, carry on. Carry on. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Let me see. Oh, Suzanne, have been bringing in my geraniums and a couple begonias. I have my own jungle now. That's great, Suzanne. That is awesome. Seriously. Oh, thanks everyone for the congrats. Mozart, you too. My cats are all vying for attention this morning. Let me see here. Um, yes, Suzanne, if you lose one again, you can put the last one on the necklace chain. That's true. That is true. I could if I end up losing one, I can absolutely, because it's like a little ceramic mushroom. So I could absolutely put this, make it into a necklace, and then order another pair and have a whole set. Oh man, Holly, I hate using one. I hate losing one of a pair of anything, especially winter gloves. The worst. Yes, I have a habit of losing my winter gloves. So I always, when it's winter time and I have a box for all my gloves, and I swear they're like socks. Um, I just you end up finding one, and I take all of them out, and I can't find the other one. Um, and like I'm like, where are the pairs? Where are the pairs? No, absolutely. Suzanne, I take starts from my coleus and put them in water. The main plant is too big and woody. Okay, great. No, that's great to continue propagating your coleus that way. And for those of you that don't know, so starts. So basically, you can take cuttings and from your coleus, and you can. So coleus is in the mint family, if I'm not mistaken. I believe it is in the mint family. It doesn't have an odor like other mints that we're aware, like how we're like, whoa, that's aromatic. um, but they can mints. A lot of mints can be started in water in cuttings, and coleus is like this ornamental plant that you can absolutely spread with cuttings. They root very very easily in water, um, and they're not the only like members of the mint families that don't have smells like a scent. Um, there's actually it's really cool, but so the mints that were introduced to Hawaii, um, they were introduced, and so there's different theories. One is that they were introduced by an animal. So for instance, like a bird migrated, like stopped there, um, and the seeds of the mint plant had passed through their digestive system, and so they had uh, the seeds ended up sprouting there. And then over the years, they had just no predators. There was nothing that in that environment that would eat that mint. And so uh, it looks like apparently it started to lose its scent over the years. So we're not sure if it was introduced by like humans, because it looks like it's been there for like thousands of years, but it didn't originate there. So it was definitely introduced somehow, and it over the years it ended up actually just losing its scent, and so uh, it's really neat. It grows pretty readily, and yeah, and it's lost its need to create those type of compounds, those type of volatile oils, because it has no predators there. And those scents, that's like to ward off, that's what it's supposed to do, is to ward off pests, to protect them. It's like so a lot of those volatile oils have like different properties like antifungal, antiseptic, um and so yeah, it's supposed to protect the plant, and we use it for ourselves, um and we use it for flavoring. But yeah, because it doesn't affect us the same way. Very similarly, like I love to think about that. It's like even plants like cloves that produce eugenol. Uh, we for them it's enough to like knock out any pests that are trying to feed on them. It could kill like a small beetle, for instance. But then for us, when we ingest eugenol, we just get numb. And so, cloves have been used, even just you take the clove and you stick it like right in between your gum and your inner lip, and it numbs out that whole area. So if you have a toothache, and then that eugenol has been taken and extracted to make the different types of anesthetics that are injected into your gums when you're doing your at your dentist appointment. If they're doing any work on your teeth, you get like that numbing agent. That's eugenol. And so that comes from cloves. So it's just interesting, right? How uh yeah, we these are all defensive compounds for the plants, and we have found different ways to utilize them, because uh it doesn't affect us the same way. um but yes, Barbara, um oh, with geraniums, yeah, I cut back and pot for winter. Hope they make it. Yes, I hope so too. Hope so. I don't know how this winter is gonna be, so it's shaping up to look like it might be a harder winter. We've had some mild winters. We've had some mild winters with surprise frost. But like last year, we never had to shovel any snow. There was no substantial snow for us here in New York City last winter. So I don't know, but it's already cold right now, and I felt like it was pretty warm uh, this time last year, and I think it was like into November we were still having days where you could go out in a t-shirt. But now it's getting pretty chilly. So that's kind of worrisome because I'm like, are we in for a really strong winter? I hope not. I mean, I know that it's good. It's definitely good for our wildlife. But oh man, uh, yeah. I hope it's not gonna be too cold. Um, I know that I had done a couple years back an interview with a person who owns a maple syrup uh business, and they were just talking about how they are in crisis right now because of all these mild winters. And so, because of the mild winters, the trees, these sugar maples that they get the syrup from, are kind of being trained to produce, not kind of produce as much sugar reserves, like reserves of energy, and store that into their roots as they do usually. And so they have actually been witnessing a drop of percentage of the sugar content of the sap that is then boiled and made into the syrup that we know, has been dropping substantially. And to to now, they get lucky if they can hit like 4%, but that they've been having trees that only have 2%. And so, if you don't know, maple syrup gets graded. Uh, so they've been producing kind of lower grades. And so they were talking about how, a lot of the operations that are happening that are still going on here in New York, probably the ones that are happening in Pennsylvania and other places around us, uh, within probably the next 20 to 30 years, they're not going to be operational anymore. They're just not going to yield enough quality product for them to have a sustainable business. And so that they were kind of, bracing themselves and preparing for the worst because this looks like that's happening. They're saying that it looks like, yeah, the maple businesses might end up just doing better farther north, like in parts of Vermont, and eventually, if we keep, having these types of winters, that then it may end up being something that might be exclusively Canadian, because it's just, yeah. So that I know that some cold winters are good for various reasons, and some plants even need to have a good winter. But oh yeah, it's I'm bracing myself. I'm bracing myself. Um, yes, and Barbara says yes, coleus cuttings from a big one. Also rooting basil stems from outside if anyone else is. Yeah, let us know. Is anyone else trying to root anything from their outside plants? Uh Please let me know. I was actually thinking, so here, it's really sad. It's really sad, but it's been happening more and more. It's kind of become like a yearly thing where there's a lot of businesses in our neighborhood. We're in Queens, we're in Long Island City, and a lot of the businesses, they plant basically like house plants outside in front, to give some curb appeal. But we even saw like somebody was planting calatheas, and I was like, this is such a bad idea. And then as soon as it started getting chilly, those poor plants were just dying. Um, and so we see a lot of businesses have like Dracaena, fiddly fig, snake plant even, and they have them in pots in front of their businesses. And then as soon as it starts getting cold, they yank them out, to throw out in the trash. And so sometimes people, they're like, "Oh, curb alert!" They just threw out like 20 snake plants. I grabbed a couple. They're free. They're literally like right by a garbage can. Those poor plants. Uh, so we're gonna do a check to see if we end up seeing any more this year, because that it was a lot last year. And it happens too in Manhattan, and so there are local plant groups here on like Facebook, where they let you know, like, oh, this office building, they're getting rid of, they're gonna be doing their winter decor, so they're getting rid of all of these plants. So free palms, free, fiddly figs. And so I'm hoping, it's not as bad as last year was pretty bad. There were just those poor plants. It just broke my heart. Uh and there was even somebody that had a ZZ plant, and it actually survived one of the snowings. It snowed and it was actually alive. And I felt so bad, and I was like, I really just want to save this plant, but they had it like right in front of their door. So I was like, I'm gonna get caught on camera, like taking their ZZ plant away. Um, but then yeah, it was a few years back where we had a snow, and so it survived that first snow, and then it didn't make it the second snow. It looked horrible. After that, it was like all burnt, and that poor plant. But I mean, ZZs are pretty resilient. I have a Raven ZZ that I got about 3 winters ago, I believe, 2 or 3 winters ago. Um, and I had it shipped to me, was delayed, and it was super cold. Like it was like under 20 Fahrenheit. Like it was really, really cold when it finally was in transit. Not when I ordered it, but when it was in transit, and that poor plant arrived, and it was freezing outside, and the whole top part of the plant was just crispy and dead. And I kind of let it warm up, and the top started getting really soggy and really terrible. I had to cut the whole thing down. And the rhizomes, they look like potatoes. They were still alive, and they looked fine. They didn't show any signs of rot or anything like that. So I switched it into some good draining soil, and I took care of it. I was like, I'm gonna keep, taking care of it and see what happens. And now I have a full plant. But it took a really long time for it to finally start pushing out growth. But it's this really dark, rich, like because the ravens are this black. Um, yeah, they're so pretty. I have a cutting of a raven back here that um I found in a parking lot outside of was it Lowe's or Home Depot? So it looks like somebody bought a Raven ZZ and it broke off in the in the parking lot. And I looked down and I go, so I had to bring it, and it's already rooting. Look at that. So these are notorious for taking forever to root. And so this little stump, it was just let me try here. Okay, just to show you. So this little rhizome was non-existent. It was just these two leaves and a stem. That's all I had. So what it starts to do is it creates this, looks like a little potato. It creates this rhizome here at the base, and it's pulling in, it's still, its leaves are working. So they're starting to store energy into this little rhizome. And then once that rhizome is in place, then it starts to push out um, some growth. And you could see like little, there's root hairs all over here. Uh, but yeah, and gosh, this was like maybe about 2 months or something. So if you ever try to, you can actually root just the leaf as well. So you can do that. Um, so if you end up finding a leaf, you can definitely try. There's no harm in trying, but it will take a while. So other plants like pothos, it might take you might even see like after a couple days, you might see like the beginnings of a root. But with these, you'll go weeks without seeing anything. So so be forewarned, just that it will take a while. But once you do see some activity, it's very quick. It starts to really grow out. Um, at that size, technically, now I could switch it into leca or something like that. Um, so I haven't decided. I might let it sit in the water a little bit longer and get some longer roots, and then I'll switch it over to like a little container with some leca, so that I can kind of keep the water capacity in check. I don't want to put it in dirt just yet, but because I really like I wanna see how I can keep it aquaponically. I'm doing that with a snake plant cutting I got a leaf of a trifasciata, and I had put it into water into leca, and it rooted. It was like just like a cutting, and now it gave me babies. Uh, and it's still in leca. And so I want to keep it in leca as long as possible. So I've been playing around with that. I love having plants that would otherwise need very well draining, conditions that don't like to have a lot of water. But then if you grow them in a hydroponic way, but where you're kind of, you're making sure you're not letting them sit in water like that. You're kind of giving them drought and drenching periods. Uh, it's cool. It's really cool. So I've enjoyed playing around with that. Um, Oh, Suzanne, wax begonias. I overwinter and take start in early spring. I love wax begonias. They're so beautiful. This was a really good year here in New York City for begonias. Um, I think because of all the rain, I think they were just so happy. I like they're still blooming in our neighborhood. Uh, they're still blooming. I feel like some of my neighbors, like their yards, it's just there's so many begonias this year. And I was telling Brian, I was like, I haven't seen like begonias this happy in October. I can't remember the last time I have seen that. So we've had a lot of rain here. I don't know if yes, if folks have seen the flooding that we've had, but I think a lot of the yeah, a lot of the plants that like wet feet are very happy. Are very, very happy about all the excess water. Tanya, yeah, sure. Prop question for me. Sure, shoot.
Hello. Okay.
Hi. Hello.
You mentioned funny Facebook groups. I last week I got this philodendron McDowell in a Facebook $10, and I'm very excited, but I'm not sure. My question is, okay,
Uh-huh.
let's see how big it is and how
Yeah.
much. I made a little prop parfait, I guess it is, because it's aeroid mix at the bottom, and I did moss and perlite at the top,
Yep.
just because I don't know what I'm doing, and I'm just playing
Nope.
up.
I do that too. I do that
Okay,
too. Yeah,
and
I put yeah.
I didn't know, because like here's the
Ooh.
stump. It's got a little
Uh-huh.
bud on it already. I don't know if and it's a crawl. These are crawlers, right? Crawler.
McDowell's, I believe, are crawlers. So I
So it
think
seems,
yeah.
yeah, like if it's a crawler, I don't know. Am I better off? I've heard other people say that, I mean, this leaf is gorgeous. I just can't part with it. Is it better to keep the leaf and stick it in moss and soil, or is it better to cut the leaf off and put it in a prop box and get it to root and grow that way? Because it's gonna, yeah, I just don't know what I'm supposed, which is the best approach. So I just did this to keep it because I didn't know what I was supposed to do, but I don't want to lose this giant leaf.
No, no, no. I personally, if my cutting has a leaf like that, even if it's growing in an odd way, I prefer to leave the leaf
Leave the leaf.
as long as you can. So sometimes as the new leaf, as if you have a bump already, it's sometimes the plant will kind of shift its energy usage
Mhm.
to that new section that's growing.
Okay.
And so then it will drain the energy basically away from the leaf that you currently have. So you'll
Right.
start to see it turn yellow and then it kind of shrivels and starts to die back. And the plant is fine. It doesn't have root rot or anything. It's just that it's like, I don't need this anymore. I'm putting out a new leaf. But I like to leave that leaf, that mother leaf, essentially, um, just so that it can continue saving up energy to then put into the new growth. Um, and so if you cut it, it's not that it won't grow, it will grow, but it might take a little bit longer.
Okay.
And so because it's going to be like, okay, well, I have to tap into my reserves when right now it still has a functional leaf. So it's going to continue trying to photosynthesize. Um, so I just feel like it's a little bit kind of easier for the transition. Now, that new growth, once it starts to grow, if you're like, okay, now it's kind of looking like it's in an awkward position, on how I want it to grow, then you can once it kind of grows and you see kind of like where it starts, then that kind of gives you a guide. Okay, well, this is how I'll reposition the plant. But for now, I would say to leave the leaf just so that it continues to photosynthesize for you.
Okay.
Um,
And isn't it gonna try to grow roots before it pushes us out?
it might, yes. So
Okay.
it tends to be roots before shoots.
Hmm.
Um, so it tends to happen that way. But sometimes if a cutting has a lot of energy, if it's kind of, and it's already kind of started to grow, especially if folks applied anything to it. So sometimes like different pastes, like the cakey pastes or
Right.
things like that, um, it will kind of focus on pushing that out first, and then it will start to root. But
Okay.
yes, the usual sequence is indeed where it would root for you, because now it's starting to get a stable amount of water, because it would need that water um, to also help it with the photosynthesis process, and then it would start putting out that that energy to push into the new shoot.
Okay. And is it okay to keep this lower part in the moss? It's not above the moss.
Yes. So just don't keep the moss super saturated.
Right.
So as long as you just don't keep it super saturated, it's kind of slightly damp,
Mm-hmm.
um, and so that it's just enough where it's a little bit of moisture. And then once you start seeing the roots come out and they kind of start to find, you can actually bottom water just enough so that you see that the mix that you had is a little bit saturated.
Okay.
And then what happens is, as the roots then penetrate through that perlite layer and into that mix, um, you're good. You're kind of leaving that whole section kind of a little bit more
Yeah.
drier than the rest. But I do that same thing. So I have a bunch of my philodendrons like that, my compost, my mayoys. I never remember the name. I think it starts with a C, but it's this philodendron I have. I call it a paddle philodendron because it's like a succulent. It's the weirdest philodendron I own. I don't know. I have no idea what it is because I always forget the name. But it has these leaves that kind of looks like those strap anthuriums, like the hanging anthuriums, but it's
Oh yeah, yeah.
like a succulent, and it goes this way, and it's really weird. But I have that. I started with one like leaf like that, and now the mother leaf died, and there's three leaves with one on the way. And it's the same thing. So I love that you called it a parfait. That's great. That's great. Because that's literally, yeah, it's like a whole layering. And I started doing that with all the cuttings, like in the last like year and a half or so. I've been doing that, and I love it. I love it, and I that's like my standard now when I'm ready to like root something like that, that I want it to grow in a mix,
Mm-hmm.
is that layering. Yes. So that's perfect. And for folks that don't know, so what you do is, so this is great for like aeroids especially. And so what you're going to be doing is you're essentially doing your mix at the bottom. And so it depends also on the type of aeroid. Some like a little bit wetter. So if you want to add things like cocoa coir in there, or um a little bit of wood chips. It all depends, right, on the type. But you're gonna put your mix. So you still want to make it very airy. So aeroids, yeah, you don't want to put something that's just like peat. That's just like mud. So you definitely want some water, some air exchange in there. And then what you're gonna do is on top of that, you can choose. You can put something like a leca, or you could put something like perlite. Perlite works great. So some type of kind of layer where you're putting some perlite, and then on top of that, you can put some sphagnum moss. And so this is kind of in that intermediary space of the sphagnum moss with that perlite, or if you end up using leca. Um, so in that intermediary space is where you would place the base of your cutting, the node. And so you're adding just enough moisture where it has access to moisture, but it's not sitting in like a puddle, right?
Yeah.
And then those roots are gonna go down, find their way into that substrate. And this, folks, is gonna make it so much easier to transition, if you ever want to, into like a bigger pot. It just makes the transition really like it increases your success rate. Now for like my mayoys, my the different philodendrons that I have, I even have my Burl Marks fantasy in that as well. Um, and they've been in there now like a year. So they're still totally fine like that. So I will wait until like I absolutely have to upgrade them before I move them. So this is like a great way if you get those chunks. If you buy things like this where it's like that one leaf, or you just buy the with no leaves, just the bare
Mhm.
chunks. This this has been working really, really well for me. And yeah, no, this is beautiful. So folks, check out
Lovely.
your local Facebook groups.
Yeah, it's everything I've gotten so far. I've gotten from Facebook and plant swaps, and all the propagations I've done. I put leca, a layer of leca in the bottom, and then I do the sphagnum moss with the perlite and just damp it, just moist, and put a little plastic wrap over it. And I did get the heat mat now, so um, that's what I've done, and they've all done really well. Before I couldn't propagate anything, but that's why this time I thought I'd try the aeroid mix at the bottom. This is what you said, it's cocoa core and what I put all my plants in with the charcoal and the leca and perlite and worm castings.
Yes,
I heard learn from
yes.
you, worm castings. So yeah, thank you so
That's so
much.
great.
Yeah,
You're welcome.
I don't want to lose my giant leaf. I'm so excited.
No, yeah, absolutely beautiful. So, so gorgeous. Thank you for sharing. Oh
Yeah,
man.
thank you.
Yeah, folks, seriously. Try that and try looking at your local groups. Like we've literally found plants that way. And sometimes even for free, where folks are like, "Hey, I can't take care of this anymore. Please you know, take it, take it." Um, and so yeah, you end up with some really great gems. I've definitely found a lot of our plants. We've kind of found like through these groups, through plant swaps. Um, it's loads of fun, and then you can meet fellow planty people. So it's an excuse to kind of nerd out with folks too. They started doing. There's a Tom's Pet Supply here. It's like it's a pet store. They have like fish and like reptiles, and they do now how like house plant swaps are being held there. I think it's every other month, and so yeah, if you're in Queens or if Queens is not too far from you, yeah, they're doing plant swaps there every other month as of I think they started in August. So yeah, like so check it out. It was so much fun because you can go and you bring whatever you want to share. So you can bring cuttings, you can bring small plants if you maybe have your own prop that you've kind of started and you want to share them out. And so I brought like a bunch of cuttings of my Ceropigias. I have like chains of hearts and chain the is it the chain of arrows? String of arrows, I think. And so I shared a bunch of cuttings, and I also took like some of my orchid cactus cuttings and things like that. So yeah, it's really fun to swap. And I ended up, I think one of the, oh yeah, one of the ones that I got, um whoop, I have my charger. I'm trying not to uh tangle myself in my charger and break my neck right now. Here we go. I got this from that swap that I had gone to in August. And it's a Scindapsus Silver Hero,
Yeah.
and it was this one leaf. So it was one leaf. Scindapsus, I love Scindapsus. I have quite a few. But they do end up like they kind of start off a little slow when you have like that one leaf cutting, and you're kind of like, all right, all right. But then once it starts to grow, it like it gets really fast. So I saw that new growth coming in, and sure enough, I have a new leaf. Um, yeah, and it looks like there's gonna be a new one coming, but I love this. I love this absolute gorgeous silver, super beautiful. She had put the person who propagated this, she had put seashells in all of her in all of her pots, and so I left that in there. Guys, stop arguing. I don't know why my cats are being like this today. Are you guys good today? Here. Come here, boo-boos. Come here. Mozart, why? I don't know. They're staring at each other, and Mozart is deciding to growl. I have no idea. Oh, guys, guys. Come here. Oh, please. Come on. What happened? He's in a mood. He's in a mood. Um, but yes, Holly, do you recommend Leca for Tanya's plant? Is it an example? Is this an example how and when to use Leca? Ah, good question. So with Tanya's plant specifically, so like McDowell's, yeah, there's a lot of philodendrons that do really well in Leca. So, for instance, we have a couple of in of our philodendrons in just Leca. So Brian has his McDowell in Leca. We have a Paraíso Verde in Leca. We have two Paraíso Verdes in Leca. A little one that we got from the plant swap. Actually, it has like one leaf, and then a bigger one that Brian has. That one is also in Leca. We actually have some Anthuriums in Leca too. Guys, can you stop? Hey, why are you fighting with your brother? Come here. You want to come up here? Yeah, come, come. I don't know. Mozart is not happy today. Come here. Want to come up? You gonna stare at me? Okay. Um, you want to come up? Come, come on, come here, puppy. I would rather you be on my lap than attacking your brother. So, come here. Okay, okay, okay. Oh, okay. Thank you. Are you okay? He's in a mood today. All right. Um, but yes, so you can keep quite a few aeroids in Leca and totally fine. Guys, I don't know what to do with you. Um, and so you could absolutely do so. And so you could start them in Leca. So even if you have like a trunk like that with no roots whatsoever, or you can transfer to Leca if you have them, let's say, in water, and you had the cutting in water and it's doing great, and now you want to start to, kind of transition it, because maybe eventually the goal is to put it into some type of substrate. So some plants you could leave in water for a pretty long time, even indefinitely. But if you're like, hey, no, I do want to get this into some type of substrate, LECA can actually be part of that transitional period. So you would then introduce it to LECA. It starts to the roots start to grab onto the LECA, and this might also stimulate, because when you actually start your plants in water specifically, um, what they tend to do first is put out what are called adventitious roots, that are wound roots. So these are like temporary roots. These are not roots that are meant for really soil. It tends to be more very finer roots, um, that they would not work in soil. They're very, very thin, very, very fragile as well. And so what ends up happening is when you put them into LECA, they start to it actually starts to generate like kind of trigger. There we go, that's the word. It starts to trigger the growth of those thicker roots, where you start to see like those thick roots come out with the root hairs. Those are those soil roots. Those are the roots that you're like, yes, that's a chonky root. That's what I want. And so it's easier also to see if you have a clear container and you're using LECA, you can really see that it starts to grow that way. And so that is also really great. And then also a benefit with LECA too is that you could let it start to dry. So LECA will kind of change color. It gets darker when it's wet. And if you get like that bright red LECA, now there's all different colors now. um, but you can actually see that it'll get, a lot lighter. So I like that too. So I switched to a lot. My plants that are in LECA now are in clear containers, and it's just because it's a great visual cue for, oh my gosh, that needs water. But then what you're able to do too is you're able to let that dry a little bit and give it some water, dry a little bit, give it some water. And this mimics what soil would do, right? So it will dry and it will get replenished because you water it. And so far, so this kind of ebb and flow. And this also strengthens those roots. So you might see that some of those water roots will start to die off and shrivel and die off, and more of those stronger roots will take over. And this is a really great sign that it's transitioning really well. Uh, so yeah, I mean, if Tanya wanted to, sure, that is something that could survive in LECA. Even Brian's McDowell is in LECA. It's totally fine. It's been there, gosh, I think since last winter. um, and so it's totally fine. He got it as a cutting, um, and with a small leaf, and it has since given us two leaves. It lost the mother leaf, and it has like two leaves now. So that poor thing survived the thrip attack that we had this year. So um, oh man, it's hanging in there. It's happy. It's still there. And yeah, the whole time it's been in LECA. So yes. And is this an example of how and when to use LECA? That's your second part of your question. Um, so yes, if you yes, it's as an example, if you did have a chunk like that, right? So you got a stem or a one leaf cutting, and you wanted to start it off with LECA from the get. So you didn't want to just put it in water. You wanted to immediately start it on LECA. You could do that. You can absolutely do that. Now, one benefit of this, I love the use of the word parfait. Now, I can't get it out of my head now. I'm giving you credit for that. Every time I'm going to mention, I'll be like, so this person, Tanya, said it's called a parfait. Now I can't get it out of my head. A propagation parfait. Um, but yes, the idea of doing this kind of lasagna, there we go, that's another one, of layering, right? So what you're doing is it's also setting you up for even more success, because you're kind of starting. So some people use sphagnum to start their cuttings as well. I've done that previously too. There's benefits and there's pros and cons to just sphagnum. So one is when sphagnum, if you forget and you let it dry completely, like more than like a couple days, it can turn really hard, like a brick. And so then you have to rehydrate that. And during that process, it can like cause some of your roots to shrivel and things like that, because it locks up. It locks up. Um, so if you're adding in combination with the leca, so what the leca does is that it pulls in water, and then as the plant, as the kind of surrounding area starts to dry, it kind of releases that water. So very similar to terracotta. So it's a clay as well. So it does this kind of thing where it takes in the water and then releases it. Um, so this, if you have your sphagnum right on top, this actually helps to regulate the moisture in your sphagnum a little bit. So it just keeps it from kind of becoming that brick. It kind of extends that moisture period for the sphagnum moss. So it's very, very helpful. So it's cool to actually use them together. And then the added benefit of, you know what, I'm gonna add that bottom layer of actual mix. So the mix that I plan on using for the plant when it's mature, right? So what happens is that while these roots are developing, they're going to make their way down to that. They're kind of cutting through the layers. They're going to make their way down to that substrate. And that is where they're going to find some nutrition, because as Tanya put like worm castings in there. So they're going to find some of that nutrition. They're going to start kind of, spreading at the base there. And that's where a lot of the so when plant roots are developing, right, a lot of the activity of the roots are happening at the root tips. So please keep that in mind. So it's not really happening at the top section of the root, right? It's the root tips that are really doing all the work. And so that's what is going to end up kind of making its way to the bottom. And then let's say that they do get really expansive and you're like, all right, it's time. I need to upgrade this port plant. This is definitely, no longer an adequate size. And you were to now upgrade it, it's comfortable with your mix. So it's comfortable with your mix. It's like you already kind of you primed it for the mix that you're going to be putting it in. And I mean, you could do something similar if you wanted, like, hey, I'm going to do the same setup, but in a bigger thing. You could totally do that. Or you could also put it in, the full mix, that echoes kind of the first recipe that you used, for your original one. You could totally do that. Um, but yeah, but I mean, Holly, if you wanted to just, start some plants in leca, I mean, there's so many other plants too you can use in leca. So I have, even my Stephania erecta, which is a aquatic plant. I have that in leca. I have my amorphalis, my voodoo lily. It's growing. I had it bloomed last year in December. And now it's growing again. So I guess it's gonna, yeah, hopefully, I hope it blooms again. Um, but that one's in leca. Um, just leca. I have, some ZZs that I have, that are cuttings are exclusively in leca. I have a spider plant that I've had for several years. And it's little. It's just like one little plant, and it's been living in leca for years. Um, I have, gosh, I have a bunch of succulents that I start in leca. So I love leca. So I definitely have a lot of stuff in leca. So the choices are pretty, endless. So if you want to experiment with it, I would definitely recommend, also, if just a trick. Right now, sometimes if you go and you try to buy leca at your local gardening store or even on Amazon, it's a little pricey. So what you want to do is try to look for hydro balls. They're called hydro balls, and they're meant for, reptile tanks. So they're meant for, so they sell them at pet stores. And usually you can get like a good, like 3 pound bag, 4 to 5 pound bag even, for a lot cheaper. So like I got, I think it was like a 3 or 4 pound bag, and I was able to get it for like $10, in comparison to sometimes when I find the leca, it's like 2 pounds for like $10. So if you just try to look up hydro balls, yeah, it ends up, I've found that it ends up, you get more bang for your buck. So look for that. But yeah, definitely just experiment with it. Put some cuttings in there. Oh, I also have pothos in there. I have my Hoyas. I have a bunch of Hoyas also that are in leca. So I have a lot of things. Yes. Oh, Tanya says that leca is really cheap at IKEA too, and they have it. Oh, that's great. Yes. So please, shop around. So definitely, oh God, when was it last year? There was like a whole thing with leca, where I guess it was growing in popularity, and so it was so hard to find, and the markups were crazy. And I think the same thing happened with pawn. So if anyone here knows pawn, especially I think call it lechusa pawn, and so it's also a kind of gravelly type of mix, for hydroponics for growing. For those that just don't know, and but it has like more minerals and things kind of in it, so you end up kind of not having to supplement that for a while. And they're much smaller, and it's like much more jagged. They're not like perfectly round little spheres like leca tends to be. And yeah, there was like a run for it. It sold out. And I was able before to find, a good size bag for like 29. And I was seeing that like I couldn't even get a couple pounds, without, like, people marked it up to like $80. It's pretty ridiculous. So it's been a while since I've checked again, but man, I think I was doing a class here where I looked it up, but you could see that it was like not available at that time. So, I have since then been able to get pawn. I've also started experimenting with something called ceramsite. So that's pretty cool. It's this ceramic, and they look like leca, but they're not porous. And so I have a couple plants in that right now. And so far I like it. It's really pretty. I got like the multicolored ones. It's definitely aesthetically pleasing. I think I did actually. Oh, thank you, Mozart. I just realized he tipped over my euphorbia. Here we go. But I do have this Peru, this Monstera Peru, um, uh, in ceram site. So this is the ceram site, and it's really pretty. There was leca in there, and then I was like emptying it out, and I added some of the ceram site. So yeah, this it's pushing out new growth, and so this leaf is going, but it's pushing out new growth now, and I got a bunch of these aerial roots. So I mean, it's pretty extensive. These are some girthy roots. You can see they're pretty chunky. Um, So, and it's pretty extensive now, but it's been there for a while. It just was like a one leaf cutting and I shoved it in here. It had no roots or anything, and it's just been growing. So, um, yeah, no, I think the ceram site is really, really pretty. So I'm enjoying that. Um,
Just one
uh,
quick question on that. I've
yeah.
seen like they call it multicolored leca. That's Saransite,
Oh,
or they
yeah.
do leca in different colors now?
Oh, okay. So I have been seeing that there's leca that I have seen in I've seen it in like in black and white, and it is being said that it is leca, so it's porous.
I've seen it
Um,
in those colors, like pink and blue and a peach.
yes, and
That it was leca.
so that's where I'm thinking is that they might be calling it leca,
Okay.
but the ceram site, this is not porous,
Okay.
so it's almost like they're little marbles.
All right.
Um, so these aren't porous. Um, so from when I looked them up and I bought myself like a bag. So they're not supposed to be porous. And so it's kind of like just a growing medium, but it looks similar to leca, but it doesn't work the same.
Okay.
Um, so far it's been fine for some of these cuttings, but yeah, they might be calling it leca, but from my understanding it's ceramic and it doesn't actually help like take in the water the same as leca does, but I mean, I'll definitely check, but that from my understanding, it was yeah, it doesn't like uptake the water the same way. Um, Holly, do your clear containers have a hole at the bottom of them for drainage? That's a great question. So some of them do and some of them don't. So some are little containers like these where I have tiny cuttings in them. They do not have holes, so it's standing water. I replenish that water, and it like evaporates out, and I replenish it if I need to do a whole water change, if the water's cloudy or if there's any algae. Then I clean them out really well, and then I put the plant right back in there. But so some of them like my like the Paraíso Verdes, the Anthuriums. Oh, our Ring of Fire. I totally forgot about our Ring of Fire. Our Ring of Fire, also in Leca, none of those have holes. So those are all in glass containers, and we just let it almost completely dry out, and then replenish it with water. So they're not like sitting in water. If it starts to evaporate, we don't immediately top it off. We let them like dry, and then we replenish them. Guys, can you stop arguing? Um, so we let them, yeah. So they replenish. Uh, and the same with like the mixes that I have with like the soil and the layering. Also same thing. I let them pretty much dry out completely, and then I give them a water. There are some plants though that I do have in either leca. Oh, thanks. You heard me talking about the Ring of Fire, and so this is our Ring of Fire. Hold on, I gotta try to get it. It's a very tall plant. Um, These are it's coming out with new growth here. These are cataphyll. So these are like it covers the new leaf as it's growing. So every time a new leaf comes, there's another cataphyll. And it grows in this way that it puts a new leaf, and then when the leaf dies off, it becomes very like woody, almost it becomes what's it called? There's a word for it. Um, oh, corked. There you go. And then it continues to push out more growth. So it's put out a lot of leaves. And yeah, it's this we actually got from a YouTuber. Oh my God. We actually saw this plant in her YouTube video, and she was talking about it. No, Candace. There, thank you. I'll try to get her handle because I completely forgot her handle. Um, but yeah, Candace. And so we actually saw this plant in her YouTube video, and it wasn't until I met her because we were only speaking through Facebook Marketplace, and I didn't realize. I mean, I saw her name, but I didn't put two and two together until I actually met her, and we were in her house, and then I said, "This looks really familiar," and then I realized that I follow her on YouTube. And so I had seen the plant in her YouTube video. Um, and yeah, it came home with us, and we've had it almost a year now, right? Longer than a year, yeah. So it's been with us for a while, but it continues to grow, and it just grows this way. Um, so I love it. I love it. And especially when the new leaves come in like this really pretty like pinky color, and then and they have like some splash to them. It's really really pretty. It's a really cool plant. I think this is the newest leaf, right? This one up here. Yeah. You could see some of that variegation on there. Um it's like a kind of like the model dragon where it's not like this creamy white color. It's kind of those layers of green, but I love it, and I love the shape of the leaf. But yes, it is completely in leca, and there's no holes in this one. So yeah, this one is completely hydroponic. Thank you, Brian. Respect that. Thank you. So that you can see. And then there are other plants that we have. So the mayoi, the mayoi, the fantasy, my burl marks fantasy, my compost. So those are in that like parfait kind of setup, but they do have holes in them. So there's what I did is they're plastic cups, like disposable cups. So I set that up, and I had burned holes at the bottom, and then I put them into a display pot. And so you can open them up, and I bottom water them, and then I put them right back into the white pot. So it looks like there's no holes, but there are technically holes. So yeah, some of them do have holes, and some of them don't. So we have both. We have both, and so far so good. So far so good. You just kind of have to learn. You got to play around and experiment with them a little bit, and yeah, you kind of learn how often it wants to get watered and things like that. So, but yeah, luck is great. I highly recommend trying it out. Even just getting one bag and just trying it out. Um, Out of interest, why is laburnum so poisonous? Laburnum. Um, I don't know. I mean, a lot of reasons why a lot of plants are poisonous, again, they're just trying to protect themselves. So, um, it's also how the herbivores that did feed on the plant. So sometimes they might be a little bit more lethal because there were larger animals that were consuming them. Um, so there can be, and sometimes some plants aren't even uh, they can actually regulate, for instance, how much kind of like how much poison or how many of these chemicals they actually have in their leaves. If they feel like they're actually under threat. Um, Even in like I think it's The Hidden Life of Trees, that the author even gives an example of like even like acacia leaves. So where the leaves were being eaten by a giraffe, and then what happens is that the tree is like, oh my gosh, I'm being munched on, and so it starts to push out bitter compounds to its other leaves. And then what ends up happening is it's kind of sending out also kind of gaseous chemicals that get to its leaves faster to kind of warn them, and just by like osmosis, just by it could be, there's debate on whether it's like luck, or it is on purpose, but that those gases, those chemical cocktails can end up being carried on the wind to the next neighboring tree, and let's say it happens to be an acacia tree, then that tree will also start ramping up its bitter compounds. And so that by the time the giraffe moves on to the next tree, because now it doesn't like the taste of the other leaves, this tree is already prepared, and it's like, yeah, no, this tastes horrendous, and it moves on. So plants are able to play around with that. Um, and sometimes bringing up the chemical cocktail, for instance, in some plants where it senses that it's been eating it, they actually like, is some plants are able to actually know like what the saliva of the animal that's feeding on them is, and it will actually put out the chemicals, especially if they've evolved uh, side by side. It already knows like, all right, I have to push out these specific chemicals, and then sometimes it can kill the animal. So I'm not sure why laburnum. I'm not familiar with any of its predators, or um, no, I don't know. But it's really, it comes down to just it's trying to protect itself. So it could be just historically. Um, so lots of plants, if especially like things like if you lived in an area where it if it was it's native to an area that, let's say, had giant sloth, or um or even things like bears, and different things like that that would feed on those types of plants. It needed to pack a bigger punch to ensure that it could at least partially survive, that even if part of the plant got eaten, the rest, could survive. And then, usually the animals, if they survive, they learn, yeah, that's not a plant that I want to eat again. And so, yeah. And I mean, that's a whole other thing. I've done a class, I don't think here, but I've taught different classes on zoo pharmacognosy, and that's actually when animals use plants medicinally. And so there has been like examples of even like chimps eating a poisonous plant, but they don't swallow them. They would take the leaves and they would chew them into a pulp, and then they would spit them out. So they weren't actually ingesting them all the way through. It was kind of like just chewing, and then they would toss them out. And they would find that they would tend to do this on a higher rate if they had intestinal worms. And so then the chimp would just completely have like a flush. Basically, it would like give itself a cleanse essentially. It would completely flush, and that they would only start to feed on those leaves, and they would eat it on purpose. And it was like there was like primatologists kind of keeping track, and they would just see that it was they were very much doing it on purpose, and they were very much not eating the whole thing. They were chewing, and then they would leave the pulp, so they wouldn't actually swallow the whole leaf. But it was great to like expel any internal parasites. So it's really neat. A lot of animals have this kind of dynamic with plants, and where they end up using plants. And it could be that they, maybe some like chimps could be very much that they understand. But even like dogs, they might just have a craving. So for instance, like dogs that will start to want to eat things like couch grass, and it induces vomiting. And so sometimes people will see like the dog is specifically looking for grass, and it starts to eat large amounts of grass, and that has an emetic effect. So that causes the dog to throw up. And it could be that the dog doesn't understand it. it doesn't feel well. It doesn't know, why, but all of a sudden its body is like, I need you to eat grass. And it's just like a craving. And then they will feed on a specific plant like grass, and it causes them to throw up. Um, yeah, so it's very interesting, but and insects do this too, where like even monarch butterflies, they purposely lay their eggs on the host species milkweed, and when these caterpillars are ingesting the milkweed, they're ingesting that white latex that is very toxic, which then in turn makes the monarch, once it pupates and become metamorphosizes to become a monarch butterfly, it is now imbued with all this toxic latex in it. So it's super super cool, and so I could definitely do I could do that class here if that's of interest to anybody. But I love exploring that. Um, Priscilla, what do you recommend for a small 5 leaves struggling lemon tree in Florida? Oh no. Um, yeah. Uh, well, light is a really important to citrus trees. Light is absolutely paramount. So if you do have it anywhere where it's getting shade, you want to move it into full light. That's for one. What are you doing, buddy? Um, Full light. Also, they need a very well draining mix. So you want to make sure that if it's in a pot, that it's in something that doesn't sit with water, that it's something that the water is able to flush through. I've seen folks use there's like a palm citrus blend that you're able to get. There's that. Oh, if it's getting too much sun. Oh, so it's on a terrace and it's getting too much sun. Okay. So if it's getting too much sun, it might do better if you can grow citrus indoors, as long as you have overhead light. So if you're able to either get like, see, I have this like freestanding grow light. If it's small enough, you can get these. This actually extends upward, so it goes up to 60 inches. So if you're able to get something like that, and then you can kind of like point it down so that it's directly overhead. Some grow lights that you can purchase that you can just hang like right above, uh, with like a hook. So as long as you can do that. I would say to keep it away from getting if you do bring it indoors, pick a spot that it's not getting like air conditioning blown at it, that it's not getting a heater blown at it. So something pretty neutral, right? Where it stays pretty room temp. It doesn't have these massive fluctuations of temperature, and that the mix is very well draining. You're going to want to let it dry out a couple inches and then give it a really good soak, and a lot of that overhead light. But if it's getting too much light, a grow light might be your best option. Also with citrus plants, they have a thicker cuticle on their leaves, so like they look shinier and waxier. Um, and so it's also great to clean those leaves out so that you're able, just you could take a damp, wet cloth, like a even a bounty, like a paper towel with some water. You don't need to add anything to it, and just clean those leaves as well, to kind of maximize its capacity to photosynthesize. But you can definitely keep them inside and very successfully. So yeah, please let me know. But I think if you bring it indoors, then if it's getting too much sun, bring it indoors. Find a good spot for it and give it some overhead light. And yeah, it might even I have a client who had a lemon tree, and it was actually, he bought the light that I was talking to him about, and he was sending me pictures of it flowering in like the middle of the winter. It was like January, February, and it was flowering. So they definitely, yeah, they do great. They do great. Um, and yeah, so I think I got all the questions. Cool. Oh man, you started it from seeds. Oh, that's even better. Yeah, no, absolutely. That's definitely very, very precious. It's a whole other level, right? When you when you start the plant from a seed. I mean, of course, we love our plants. But you feel some type of way, right? When you're starting it from seeds, or oh man. Um, Oh, I mean, I feel very similarly even when I start plants from like a chunk, where it has no leaves and you just get like a segment of the stem. And then you finally have this like beautiful plant, and it's like you get so protective of it because you're like, oh, nothing can touch this plant. Oh, that's so great. Yes. So Priscilla, yeah, definitely. Um, especially now with it getting colder and stuff, yeah. Indoors might do the trick, and yeah, just a well draining mix. But you could add a little bit of worm castings in there too, and you don't have to mix them in. You could just add, you can kind of literally take some and kind of sprinkle it on top, so that when you water it kind of seeps down and it gives it a little bit of nutrition, if you start to see like active growth, especially if it starts to push out some growth for you once you have it in the new setup. So, but yeah, but definitely keep us informed. All right, so it is 1:12. I have a meeting at 2, so I'm gonna have to finish up my caffeine and my croissant. I'm gonna re-warm it up. Um, but thanks so much everyone for hopping on and tuning in. This is seriously, it's so great to start off my week like this. Um, it's going to be a busy week. I'm trying to push out the new website for HWB, for Herbalists Without Borders. So whew, trying to push that. So I'm actually wrapping up the manual course that I set up, and I'm gonna now be able to offer courses through Herbalists Without Borders. And so I've been adding all the tests. So I've been having to go in through each section and add all the multiple choice and all that. So it's been a lot of fun to do. But this is now something that I have experience in. So I want to make some pre-recorded classes for Urban Garden, and so now I can use that same tool to do that. And so I was thinking about kind of having some modules that folks could go through at any order that they like, and then I can add quizzes so that folks kind of check their knowledge and see. Um, and yeah, I'm just excited about, like, I'm playing with all these like new tools and things, and so I'm excited about how I can use that now experience here. Yes, Suzanne, yes, for Herbalists Without Borders, it's open to everyone, and so there's different choices. There are even financial aid options. There's individual options where you can even pay like $5 a month. And so all those memberships basically help to pay for my salary, to keep the lights on, and then you get access essentially um, to all of the resources. There's over 1,000 resources, and we're adding more. So I'm really excited about that. And we also have business members, we have school members, and nonprofit members. Yeah, and then we also receive donations, and those are tax deductible. And yeah, we're with the new website, we're hoping that we can actually add things like a social media platform that's just for our members. There's I want to do more like video meetups, kind of like this Zoom, but for herbalists. And you don't just have to be an herbalist to join Herbalists Without Borders. We have people from different modalities. I just filmed an interview on Thursday with an acupuncturist, and he talks a little bit about how he integrates herbs into his practice, but he is an acupuncturist by trade. So we have folks that are in different modalities, like yoga practitioners, sound healers, nutritionists, that just happen to also use herbs or be interested in herbs, but that's not the only thing that they do. They have these other like complementary medicine practices, and so we are a place for everyone. So even if you just want to learn about herbs, we have so many resources, and again, we're adding more. And so we even have like these monographs that are kind of um, little e-guides on specific plants, and we're going to be further expanding them. So I think right now we have like 20 in there, and we're going to be putting out a bunch more. So yeah, so everyone is welcome. So definitely check that out if you're interested. And yeah, and I'm excited. I'm really excited. There's a lot of good things coming. So thank you so much, everyone, for tuning in. I hope you enjoy the rest of your Monday. Hope you enjoy the rest of your week. Please stay safe out there. And as if it's getting cold by you, I hope you're staying warm. Here last night, I even had to, like, even though the heater came on, it was still pretty chilly. I had to put on the space heater in our bedroom. So I was like, I am cold. So if I'm cold, my plants are cold. So so I definitely put on the space heaters to kind of compensate if the heat isn't strong enough. But thanks so much, everyone. And yes, Suzanne, I'll put the website in there. It's hwbglobal.org. hwbglobal.org. Yeah, so we're excited, and the new website we're hoping can be up soon. And yeah, and I'm hoping I have to edit the video. Hello. Sorry, Jules just came up here. Hi, buddy. Hello. Oh my goodness. Okay. Hi. Um, and yeah, and so I have to edit that. So I'm hoping to have that up by the end of the week. Hello. Hello. Oh my goodness. Thank you. My cats are odd today. They're like, I love you. I want to fight with everyone. I don't know what's happening. Just they started off the week in a weird in a weird mood. But all right. Have a great one, everyone, and thanks so much. And yes, Terry, yes, a variety of topics. So I love that. I love we can go from topic to topic. Thank you so much, everyone. And yes, Priscilla, definitely check that out. Have a great one, everyone. Bye for now.